Hello there, I'm Archbishop Christopher Coyne, and this is Coffee with the Archbishop. Again, it's because it's after Memorial Day, I've switched to iced coffee. And joining me today is Mr. Paul Connery, the Director of Facilities Management for the Archdiocese of Hartford. So we're going to talk about what you do, and then how it, affects some of the churches, what happens when a church closes, things like that. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the Director of Facilities, you handle like real estate, insurance, you have people look at buildings, all this other stuff like that.
A variety of things. We started this department back in 2017, and the impetus of it was at that time we were consolidating. There was a lot of churches we were closing, and they needed a process in order to manage through those closings through the pastoral planning process. And then it evolved into other areas. So we do everything from the real estate management, helping properties, helping parishes dispose of property. We do risk management. We do project management. We're very involved in the permission process, which you're involved with, obviously. And we help parishes through those projects as far as vendors and architects and the like.
A lot of times when I was, all the dioceses, but people, when we're doing like the Archbishop of Appeal or something like that, they'll say, well, what's the Archdiocese do for us? I say, well, first of all, we get your priests from us, but also I talk about, facilities management. You do know that they're out there. And they say, what's that? And I say, all right, so let's talk. So St. Dominic's Parish, or whatever, St. Thecla's Parish, terrible windstorm comes through, takes off a bunch of the shingles on the roof, some water damage. What facilities management, what do you do?
So each parish is a separate corporation, so they have to be the ones communicating outward to us because we don't necessarily know what's happening in the parish unless they tell us. So if they had a particular situation such as the one you mentioned, we will work with them with our risk management group, the Catholic Mutual, to assess the damage, to help them find vendors to immediately repair something if something's leaking, and then long-term, helping them manage through the claim process. So, and then helping them find the right vendors. And
all that's free. You don't charge. We don't charge.
We don't charge.
So the facilities people go down and they just work with the parishes to get things fixed.
Right.
Get the insurance, get things fixed, get things done.
Right.
And there's no extra charge.
None.
Okay. Second scenario, we close a church and we're going to relegate it to profane but not sordid use. What does facilities do there? Now that's kind of a sad thing for a lot of people, but we want to protect the church's it's the items and things like that.
Yeah, it's their patrimony, and we've done this now. Unfortunately, I think we've closed and sold 50 churches plus multiple other buildings over the many years we've been doing this. So we have a really solid process we go through, including getting them permission to market the property. We certainly want to make sure that everybody knows that they want to close the property. So close means it's not used for regular masses anymore. So we still want them to continue to use the property because of tax purposes. But we help them through the listing of it, the appraisal process. We help them with legal matters. We don't provide, they don't go out and do their own legal, we do it. And then all the canonical approvals through a contract. And that is,
Right. So like the church closes and then it's going to be not used anymore.
Right.
Basically, sometimes because the parish can't continue to maintain it, can't continue to pay insurance on it, can't lights and all that other stuff like that. It's just a drain. So they have to sell it. So the first thing is the patrimony you mentioned. Like the parish can't say anybody that wants the statue from the church, come on down and you can take it, because that technically belongs to the parish corporation, which technically is directed under me, and it's part of that. So all those items are taken and given away to other churches as they would request them, and they're also going to storage. Sometimes people come and buy them for a church like in another diocese. The interesting thing is the stained glass windows. We can't. You're not allowed to leave the stained glass windows in the church. How's that work?
Well, you can if we were selling it to another Christian church.
But we don't do that anymore.
No, we don't do that anymore. So it is.
I don't want to get involved with the competition.
Right. They are sacred items. We have a grid that shows the different levels of sacredness. So like an altar, for instance, we don't sell altars. We have a company that comes in the early stages of this process, and they appraise everything. They go through and inventory everything, and they give the parish and us, our department, a list of all those different articles, and then we help the parish decide what they can do with different items. As far as stained glass, there's a market out there for stained glass. So this company we use, they go out there through constant contact, and they'll find potential buyers of it. So if that could work out, that's great. A lot of times a parish might take it.
Right. So if the parish that's still have a church open, they might take stained glass from the church that's closed and put it in the new church building.
Exactly.
Or the old church building.
Yeah. We had a parish do something really unique. They took it out, and the maintenance team, they framed the glass, and they put it over windows of a school, of their parish center. And it was really cool how they did it. So there's a lot of different ways they look at the stained glass as well as other items. So, we certainly don't want them. One of the first parishes we worked with, a pastor who will not be named, he actually put it out in a yard sale. And we caught wind of this, and we went down there the next day and said, "You got to stop!" So he had everything in this hall, and it had tags of. I was like, "Okay, this doesn't work."
Yeah, this doesn't work.
No, so it's canonically we have to follow a process.
Yeah. It's interesting. Some things like altars and other things, they have to basically be destroyed and then placed within the sacred ground.
Right.
So last diocese I was in, Burlington, we had a diocesan cemetery, and there was a lot of extra land that you couldn't really bury anybody on, but they would dig out, and then on a Saturday they would say anybody that has anything, sacred objects from their house, like statues and things like that you don't know what to do with,
right.
Or even while we'd take the broken altars and things from the churches, that would all go into this this open hole at the cemetery, and then people would come on Saturday, or they'd put them out on tables, and people could swap whatever. These are household gifts,
right?
And then they just put them in the ground and then cover them up.
Yeah. We've buried a lot of statues. Or not a lot of a few statues, but a lot of altars over the years, because some of them you couldn't dismantle them the way they were built into the church. They had to be literally destroyed.
Yeah.
And there was no we couldn't find any use for them.
So, my last parish, they had the most hideous statue of the Blessed Mother. I was like, oh my God, we got to get a better statue. And I went to get it out there, and they said, no, we love this statue. It was given by a beloved priest. And I said, yeah, but it's hideous. Yeah. They said, no, we want to keep it. Right. So I put a wreath above it for Christmas, and that's what they did. They put wreaths.
Yeah.
A wreath came down, hit it, and cracked it over. They still said they thought that I did it. They said you set that up, so you to get rid of that statue. I said no. Yeah. So facility. So you do that, and then you also have working with our insurance people. They go out every year and do an assessment on the buildings. They do an inspection. Okay. Every once a year as part of our contract with them. They go in and do a safety inspection of the buildings. We get a copy of it, and we follow the process of how the parish responds, because there's to-do lists that the parish has to follow up with the insurance people on, be it, fixing a breaker or an emergency lamp, or, a gas tank might have been in a garage, it shouldn't be there, et cetera, et cetera. So we follow along with that, and we go out to the parish. That sort of is our sort of red light if we say, oh, we better go out and look at that parish, because there's some issues out there that are broad, so that might drive us to go out there and actually work with them a little more closely. Sure. So kind of wrapping up our conversation, one of the things that I meant when I first got on here over a year ago was I wanted to take some of our buildings as we can and maybe convert them into affordable or low-income housing. Yep. And it's a lot more work. It's not as easy as people would think. It's just there's so much bureaucracy and what you can do with buildings and can't do with buildings and all. Right. But we're moving forward. There's great potential, and there's a market out there. There's a lot of incentives for towns to add more affordable housing stock to their inventory of houses. Yeah. So I think there's a huge opportunity for sure, and it's good because you monetize the property, and the parish gets the money, and they can move on in their ministries with some money in the bank. Like a couple of old schools that I know of that they're looking at to easily convert into one-bedroom studio apartments for senior housing and things like that. So we're working on it. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you're retiring. Thank you. Yes, I am. How many years do you work? Almost 25. Almost 25 years. Yeah, and I was thinking about that on my drive-in. I have such gratitude for the many years I've had, and I'm grateful to you. You're my fourth Archbishop, and Pope Leo's my fourth
Pope in my time here. So it's been a great run. I'm really enjoying, I'm really looking forward to spending more time with my wife in our home in Rhode Island. But I'll have many fond memories of so many great people, and I'm just grateful.
Good. Well, thank you for your service
Thank
to the
you.
Archdiocese.
I appreciate it very
wish you a
much.
long and healthy retirement.
Yes.
And everyone,
Cheers.
cheers. And this is Coffee with the Archbishop. God bless.